Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take that stack of varied sources you sent, pop culture stuff, personal notes, news reports, all of it, and really pull out the key nuggets for you, our mission today. Cut through all the noise, get to the core of what's genuinely interesting from the past week's review, basically help you get up to speed fast on, well, a whole bunch of fascinating topics.
That's right. And we really do have a lot to unpack. Think of it as your shortcut, understanding the currents shaping things, with hopefully a few aha moments along the way. We'll be jumping from, say, the media landscape to some surprising celebrity details, even how tech is sort of quietly weaving itself into our daily lives.
Okay, let's dig in then. One of the biggest things, and it really stands out from your sources, is this incredible shift happening in media, specifically the rise of podcasts. It's undeniable. Your source highlighted Taylor Swift's recent appearance on that New Heights podcast.
Yeah, and what's fascinating there isn't just that she was on, but the sheer scale and the nature of it. It was reportedly 2 hours long. 2 hours, giving this incredibly in-depth, candid look, into her personal life, her free time, how she makes albums, stuff fans just haven't seen before.
That level of access is pretty rare for someone like her.
Totally. And the interaction with Travis Kelce was noted too. Observations about him being a human exclamation point, his quips. Though apparently Taylor didn't seem bothered. She even packed him some sourdough bread she'd baked.
Wow. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The audience numbers. This one podcast appearance, you're saying, reportedly got 4 million live viewers.
4 million, yeah.
Now, compare that to, say, traditional TV. A top show like Stephen Colbert's costs maybe, an estimated $100 million a year. And it's still facing cancellation buzz. Meanwhile, a podcast might cost, let's first joke, $1.49 to make.
It's a stark contrast, and it definitely raises a big question. Is this like a fundamental sea change in how we consume media, or just, a one-off?
Well, is it a one-off?
The source pointed out it's not the first time we've seen this. Remember Donald Trump appearing on Joe Rogan? It suggests maybe a potential death knell for traditional broadcast media, or at least a major rebalancing act. Audiences seem to be gravitating towards these less formal, maybe more authentic feeling platforms. They're certainly cheaper to produce.
A death knell.
Yeah.
That's a pretty strong term, isn't it? But surely traditional media is adapting too, maybe with their own podcasts or changing their style. Is it really dying or just changing shape?
That's a fair point. Yeah. Vanish?
Right?
Probably not. But what the source seems to be highlighting is the shift in power. Podcasts offer this direct, kind of unfiltered connection, something broadcast struggles to replicate within its old structures. It's really about where the eyeballs, the attention is shifting. And these platforms, they're proving super effective at grabbing it. And sometimes they even leverage existing relationships. Like the source mentioned NFL coach Andy Reid. Apparently, he knows Taylor Swift's dad from business back in Pennsylvania. And he basically gave Travis Kelce Cupid points, encouraged him to pursue the relationship.
So it's not just the format, it's these personal connections opening up new ways to engage people.
Exactly. And if you look at the bigger picture, celebrity, music, sports, they've always intertwined, right? Think Bromo and Jessica Simpson, or Beckham and Posh Spice. But this particular case, and also the success of the Chiefs Kingdom documentary series. The source mentioned their 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 years.
Right.
It just shows how deeply these worlds are integrated now, creating totally new ways for fan engagement, for content that kind of bypass the old gatekeepers.
Okay, so media consumption, clearly in massive flux. But speaking of how tech shapes things, your sources also had this really practical, everyday use for AI.
Oh, yeah, that was neat. Someone shared how they're using ChatGPT for weekly grocery lists and meal plans.
How does that work exactly?
Well, they reported just plugging in a budget, say $100, and asking for lunch and dinner ideas for maybe 2 or 3 people for the whole week. And the AI just generates the list and suggests some great dishes that fit the plan.
Okay, what strikes me about that, for you, the listener, is just how simple and practical it is. You know that feeling, the what's for dinner fatigue, or just the hassle of planning meals, doing the grocery run. This seems like a real solution. Using AI to streamline a pretty common chore. It's immediate, tangible.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates that AI isn't just like complex stuff for the future. It's about solving real, nagging problems right now.
All right, so building on that theme of consumption, your source material also acted like a sort of impromptu guide to what's worth watching and maybe what's not in movies and TV. Let's dive into some of those reviews.
Sure. On the film side, weapons got called fantastic. Stars an actress from Uncle Buck and Field of Dreams, apparently, written and directed by Zach Krager from Whitest Kids You Know. And here's an interesting tidbit. Jordan Peele's company initially passed on it. But then he saw the movie and reportedly fired the people responsible for passing.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
quite a reaction.
Yeah, it really speaks to maybe the evolving horror landscape.
Yeah.
There was even a theory mentioned that the kind of pain that often fuels comedy can sometimes lead down a horror path, too.
Huh, that's interesting. A genre kind of pushing boundaries. What else? We also heard about freaky tales, likened to Pulp Fiction.
Suggests there's still an appetite for those edgy, non-linear stories. Then there was the pick up the Eddie Murphy-Pete Davidson movie. Reportedly, Pete Davidson really took center stage more than Eddie Murphy, which is kind of an interesting shift in, like, comedic star power.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily expect that, but not everything was a hit, right? War of the Worlds with Ice Cube was bad, but not near as bad as everybody says.
Right. Sort of damning with faint praise there. And on the definite thumbs down side, Death of a Unicorn with Paul Rudd was called abysmal. Really bad.
Ouch. So what does this batch tell us?
Well, it feels like there's this tension, doesn't it? Audiences seem hungry for bold, original genre stuff, while maybe the big-name comedies or the established franchises, they don't always hit the mark anymore. Suggests maybe we want unique voices, maybe we're a bit tired of predictable formulas, even with stars we like.
Makes sense. What about TV?
Shifting to TV, Leanne got highlighted. Comforting and silly 80s charm apparently stems from the comedian stand-up. That points to, the enduring appeal of just feel-good, nostalgic stuff.
And then the big one. And just like that, the Sex and the City revival, mixed reactions.
Yeah, pretty mixed. Praise for some character growth, apparently, but criticized for being inconsistent.
Yeah.
And, of course, the lack of Samantha. But its cultural impact was still acknowledged. It's a classic case, right?
Yeah.
Of Lovett show trying to recapture the magic, still making waves, but maybe not quite hitting the same highs.
Right. And on the definitely not good side, Alien Earth.
Cold, horrible, reminiscent of older CW shows, so steer clear signal there.
Got it. What else briefly?
Let's see. Duster was loved, but the ending wasn't great, and it didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
Shows how tough TV production is. The Lowdown with Ethan Hawke described as Tarantino-esque. The Paper on Peacock, a documentary with an Office connection, a.k.a. Charlie Sheen on Netflix about his troubles. Superman streaming somewhere, and there's anticipation for Nobody 2 and Spinal Tap sequels and reboots still generate buzz. Oh, and a quick mention. A Biggest Loser documentary was apparently good.
Okay, quite a rundown. And beyond all the big headlines and entertainment stuff, your sources also had this rapid-fire news quiz section. And some really curious facts from a listener. It just reminds you that knowledge pops up in all sorts of places.
Definitely. In that news quiz, we heard about the Israeli military's actions against Al Jazeera journalists near a Gaza hospital, which led to discussions about loss of goodwill. Also, a federal employees union, AFGE Local 2883, condemning vaccine misinformation, saying it puts scientists at risk. Just snapshots, really, of complex global issues and public health debates, as presented in your sources.
Right, presenting those points. We also heard about a huge $1 billion settlement UCLA is facing from the DOJ over anti-Semitism and civil rights claims. And, kind of randomly, Jimmy Kimmel apparently got Italian citizenship through his mom's side. The discussion also briefly touched on Bolivia's presidential election. Samuel Doria Medina and George Tutodo Guerrera mentioned as right-wing frontrunners. It's a real mix, isn't it? Legal fights, international politics, celebrity citizenship, all part of the current picture.
Exactly. And then, beyond the news cycle, you have these fascinating little facts from the texter. Like, did you know a baby's cells can actually stay in the mother's body for life after birth?
Wow, no, I didn't know that.
Or that crocodile tears. The phrase comes from actual crocodiles shedding tears when they eat. It's because their sinuses get clogged.
Oh, okay.
And I mentioned that Al Capone apparently suffered from syphilis and shyness.
Shyness. Really? Okay, and this next one. This one genuinely surprised me. Apple reportedly has a deal with movie studios. iPhones can only be used by the good guys or neutral characters, never the villains.
Apparently so. It's subtle, isn't it? But a powerful example of how brands can sort of quietly influence even storytelling.
Yeah, it really is.
These little facts, they seem random, but they kind of highlight hidden biology or the weird origins of phrases we use all the time. Just shows how even small details can tell you something interesting. Oh, and the texter also weighed in on glamping versus camping.
Yes, a great debate.
Stating that an RV is unanimously considered glamping. Too luxurious, apparently, compared to sleeping on the ground. But then someone else offered the view, All glamping is camping, but not all camping is glamping, suggesting, a broader definition, more nuance.
Right. So these facts just underscore the huge range of things shaping how we see the world, from global events down to, well, iPhone placement in movies. And speaking of how we see things, your sources also gave us a glimpse into personal experiences, how individual journeys like, say, Chris's family travels or Cora's studies abroad become these unique filters for understanding everything else.
Exactly. The personal notes you shared, they really illustrate how individual lives can mirror or sometimes even drive these bigger trends we're talking about. Like, take Chris's reflections on his travels, attending an Uncle Mike's 80th birthday with that famous Costco cake,
Can't beat a Costco cake.
right? And a memorable brunch right on the water. That highlights family, connection, leisure. But then his wife Jane's rugged international camping trip, using carabiners, thinking about maybe Alaska next. That shows the whole other end of the travel spectrum, pure adventure. And that trip actually inspired them to think about getting a tent for weekend camping.
See, a personal experience sparking a real lifestyle change. We also heard about Chris's other activities, baseball games, disc golf, dinner with his mom, and that pontoon boat ride with the mayor of Independence, discussing all the upcoming leadership changes in the city. That really shows how personal life and civic stuff can intertwine. New mayor, superintendent, city manager, police chief, chamber president, lots of change.
Yeah, and the source mentioned Chris starting a new consulting venture with the mayor, transitioning out of politics, back into public speaking, training for the banking industry. It just highlights how careers can shift and adapt based on relationships and new chances.
Then your sources also had Boogie's trip to Springfield to see JoJo and checking out new movies, showing how even our leisure choices feed into that larger cultural consumption picture.
And we had Cora, the marine biology student, sharing details about her, 2.5 months studying the Galapagos?
Yeah.
Scuba diving, tagging sharks. I mean, talk about immersive learning. And her upcoming trips, Acadia, Belize, the Cape, for more studies. It just underscores how academic work can be this amazing hands-on global experience now.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's so clear how dynamic the whole world of information is becoming, blending traditional news, pop culture, personal stories, new tech. It's all mixing together.
Absolutely. From, celebs on podcasts changing the media game to AI making grocery shopping easier, even those subtle brand placements in movies, how we take in and interact with information, it's constantly shifting.
Yeah.
And as we saw with the personal stories, our own lives are actually pretty rich sources for understanding these bigger shifts.
So the final thought for you, the listener, given everything we've seen these shifts and how info and entertainment get shared, what do you think? What new platforms or maybe unexpected crossovers are going to define how we consume media in the next few years? Something to chew on.